everyone. Welcome to this conversation, this breath of life conversation. Welcome to the next episode. I am so excited for this conversation. This is an epic conversation. Okay, we're going to go deep and talk about a lot of different things around acting and storytelling. And so I'm so happy to welcome Cristina Menendez to the podcast. She's my sister from another mother, a soul sister, as it was. She was with me when I certified as a professional intuitive. She also certified under the same program at the same time, the same cohort, and she has just been a guiding light to me for so long. And she's such a powerhouse. She is a published poet. Okay, published poet. She is an actress. She worked as a high-end retail expert for so long, like a personal buyer for high-end companies. She is a mother of two. She is a wife of almost 2 decades. She just has so much to give and has come back to acting now here in her 46th year. So she did a lot of acting before going into high-end fashion, and now has decided that after living a life truly of such richness and fulfillment, that she is now going back to the stage, back in front of the camera. And I was so interested in why she decided to do that and what her thoughts are on the industry. So I invited her to sit and have this conversation with us. Join us as we get into this conversation. So, let's just start with, I guess I should start off with, if anybody doesn't already know, I am one of the biggest, like, movie, TV people on the planet. I love it. I love watching people bring stories to life, and I would have loved to have been an actor or an actress, whatever. We're going to talk about like the labels. I get like and how you feel about that. Anyway, but um I would have loved to do it, but I feel like I'm kind of missing that je ne sais quoi that it comes with like being an actor or actress. I feel like maybe I could learn it like if I went to school for that, but I was never that kid that felt so compelled that I needed to be on stage memorizing lines, getting a bunch of makeup on my face to handle the lights. I wanted people to, I have a very firm self-awareness that I actually like being admired and I like people looking at me. But I don't know. There's something about that, like, oh, we'll go and like be on the stage and like do that maybe like it's stuck in my head. So I guess I want to start there for you of like, is that something that bugs you? Is that something that you like crave? Is like all of the things? Because it's not just like having somebody look at you
Mm,
that would like lead
act-
one to the stage or to movies or to be in front of a camera. So what is it
actually,
for you?
yeah. You just described all the things I hate about performing in what we've been on for like less than 2 minutes. I don't personally wear a lot of makeup in my real life. Like I don't like it. It bothers me. It actually makes my skin itch because I have sensitive skin. And so I don't like all the makeup. I don't like watching myself when I perform. Like having to watch the videos to fix things is so cringe. Okay. But here's what it is. I will never forget it. I was in 8th grade and someone came from a high school to do Anne Frank. Like I know the performance, I know the scene, okay? And I'm older, guys, like nowhere near 8th grade anymore. And this girl performed Anne Frank. I can't tell you whether she did a good job or not. I can't. What I can tell you is that every fiber of my being said, this, you can do this. And when I perform, there's an awareness that comes to me about, okay, these are the lines that you have to say, that's where you have to stand, you have to grab the cup, you have to do this, there's all the motions that have to happen, but there's something else that takes over, right? Because I will watch myself and I don't know that I did those things or that my face made those faces. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I mean, you're describing what I feel like being a channeler is like, that you step
Sure.
out of yourself to allow something else to come in, and they're the ones that are in control in that moment. And I
Maybe.
think that's
Yeah.
why I have a problem with the name like actor actress, because I feel like that word of acting, like
Mm-mm.
it denotes almost to me like some form of untruth, except for if you speak to any actor or actress, the one thing that you would consistently hear from them is that you can't lie. You have to be telling some level of truth. You have, like, not some level, you have to be telling the truth. You have to find the truth in the performance. And I think the people who do it really, really well are the ones that forget that they're there, or they like disassociate from being there. And maybe that is why so many performers don't like looking at themselves, because they don't recognize who they are. They're like, that's not me, though. So, ew.
It's weird. Yes, it's really, really weird. Like I completely sympathize when I'm watching an interview and the actor is uncomfortable about the compliments that they're receiving. Like they're just like, because we don't see ourselves the way that everyone, like, and not even everyone else, because we're all individuals and we all see things a certain way. But like, and we've talked about this, that book that I was reading, One Nun and 100,000. Like, I don't see myself the way Abigail sees me, or anyone that views this will see me. Um, and so, yeah, watching yourself on the screen is really uncomfortable because you don't get to see yourself that way in real life, right?
Yeah.
Like you don't. And so actors have this very uncomfortable reality of that like, you know, and you have to give yourself to the character, or you will see it on screen that they're just pretending. And there's a huge difference, and you can feel it, you can see it. I mean, when I've watched myself and I know I was pretending, I'm like, oh, cringe, it's so bad, you know? But when you give in and you allow yourself to just be honest in that moment as you're saying whatever it is that you're saying. I mean, the definition of acting is finding truth in imaginary circumstances. You know, it is about being able to, okay, if this really was happening to me, how would Cristina react? Right. Um, for
Is it
me,
supposed to be how you would act, or what you would do, or should it be about the character? What would they do?
so it's a beautiful dance that the actor has to play on, right? Because the actor has to, there's a fine line where you're channeling this energy, right? And I would say that I discovered this um, when, this is why grief is so important for all of us to experience, I think, in life, because in the height of when things were really bad with my dad, and then right after he passed, and this is where energy reading helps, right? You begin to understand that all the whole rainbow of emotions, they're all right there, right there. It's what you are playing with, what you're allowing into your beautiful arraic field, um, to play with. And what an actor becomes really good at is being open to allowing those frequencies to flow through you while you're still there, because you have to say the lines that you've memorized. You need to know your blocking points, for where the character needs to be in certain areas for the cameras or the stage or whatever it is that you're doing, right? But you are saying yes to this energy to come through you so that there is truth in those memorized lines. There's the emotion that needs to come through the arc of the story that you're telling, right? And so you're saying yes to that. You're like, yes, I'm going to allow this truth to flow through me. And you have to be able to enjoy allowing these energies to flow through you for these characters, because you've made some agreement that you don't want some of these emotions in your real life. So to have a flavor of them, you get to play them. That's what I've learned so far. And there's a lot
So
to
it's so
unpack there.
interesting because like in my work, right? Like as you know, in with my clients, right? I speak so much about feeling your feelings when you feel them.
Mm.
And that I use that as literally the foundation, not even just a cornerstone. This is like what my work is built on of if you don't know and can't identify what it is that you're feeling in that moment, that is what's going to cause you to have reduced energy, get sick, ignite a disease. Like the emotions that one feels and being able to say, yeah, this is what I'm feeling is so pivotal. And it's it's amazing to me that I basically like as I go through and talk to different people about what they do, not just on the podcast, but well, not really on the podcast, just in general, anything, right? How frequently emotions come up and what you're saying is like you may never have felt a particular emotion before, but when you're bringing a character to life, you have to be willing to access the full range of human emotion, because even if you've never felt that before, you this character may have. And so that delicate balance that you were talking about of like what would I do versus what the character would do. The emotion is the thing that drives it. So you
A
have to
hundred
be
percent. Yes.
right.
Yes, 100%. You have to be willing to feel the feels. You have to be willing to feel the feels. You can't pretend to feel the feels. The camera
Okay.
knows the camera's like right on you. At the stage, you might be able to get away with it more. The people in the front rows are gonna know, maybe not the ones in the further back, but like the camera's zooming in on you. You can't fake that. If you're not in it in that moment, like your body shaking, whatever it is that's happening, whatever the character is feeling, like so I've watched a lot of interviews, and like James Cameron potentially is not the nicest of directors. When he was shooting the Titanic, he actually flooded the set with freezing cold water because he wanted to capture the panic, the real panic. So he was like, this is the only way I'm going to get the real panic.
Yeah. 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 And I think that's such an interesting thing too, especially now in 2025 and like moving on. Like we've had such a movement towards like green screen and the CGI and all that stuff. And I think James Cameron is one of the really interesting ones because like for Avatar, as even though the entire world is built in CGI, if you watch the like behind the scenes stuff, as much as it could be physically um done
Created.
is physically done. So,
Yeah.
you see clips of Zoe Saldana's character um actually having to climb up onto the back of one of the crew members who's playing the, you know, the why can't I remember the birds now? The ikran. So like, you know, to give that sense of like, oh, um you're not just climbing up onto a block, you know, or you're not just sitting on a block.
Around an
You're
animal, yeah.
actually, yeah,
Um,
there's weight. There's
yeah.
weight to whatever it is. And that was, I think, and I don't know, I am right now speaking for Zoe Saldana, even though I know nothing about her. I do not know her. But I would assume that having to do that, having to interact with something living, essentially, like made
Helps.
it easier to evoke the emotion.
Absolutely. Yeah. Having to like having to evoke emotion directly to camera is so much harder than to another actor in the room because the camera is empty. There's I can't pull anything from the camera at all. I have to imagine it all. Where I can look in somebody's eyes and,
Like you're
with
feeling off of them
yes,
whatever it is that they're giving you. So if like you're supposed to
yes,
be angry at that person, hopefully the other actor is giving you something to be angry about.
uh-huh, uh-huh, uh-huh. Yes, please, please, you have to. Yes. As an actor, when I know I'm gonna do a difficult scene, I will talk to the other actor and be like, I'm going to yell really, really loud. And I'm gonna shake. You're gonna see me shake, okay? And I'm like, this is where it's gonna go in this scene at these around here, around these lines. It's coming, I never know exactly which one. So I'm like, it's gonna be somewhere around here. This is gonna happen, because they'll freak out. And sometimes that's exactly what you want, but like you don't want to be a dick either, like, because like so I did it once and I scared an actor, like really scared them, and then they didn't want to talk to me the rest of the day. And I'm like, fuck, okay, I'm sorry.
Hey, can I ask a question about that? Because I feel like that's a really like interesting, like that almost like seems to me that the person who's going to have that reaction that you just described of like you you basically didn't forewarn them and now they're not talking to you because there do you feel like there is, because there's a couple of different questions, okay, that I wanted to ask, but I'm going to start with this one. Do you feel like that individual just lacks professionalism because they read the same script you did? Okay. So they should know like what the scene is calling for. They should know what it is that you're going to say. They might not know how you're going to do it, but they should know what it's going to say. And like it's not like you're each given a script with just your lines and you don't have any idea what the scene is supposed to be doing or about. It's not like you just like get these sheets of paper with just your lines and nobody has talked to you, like the director hasn't talked to you about what the scene is. So I completely understand the like,
Well,
hey, I think
sometimes
this
they
is how
don't.
I'm gonna play it, but to have the response afterward of, you know, some actors being like, "Ugh, I can't deal with you anymore because you were doing your job."
Oh, no,
Do you,
no. I
where do you think that's
honestly
coming from?
think it was no. So, all right. So, a few things. A script is open to interpretation. Like, I can read something and see it one way, and my co-star can see it a very different way. In fact, it happened. We were doing a scene, and the reason it wasn't working was because we both were looking at it from two different places. And until we sat down and talked about it, we weren't able to fix the problem. So you absolutely want to have these conversations,
But isn't
especially
it
if
the
there's
director's job though to make you guys make sure that you guys are on the same page?
it's not always the case. Like you can't always rely on external factors. Like nowadays it's changed a lot, I understand. And like, especially if there's an intimate scene, they're going to have like an intimacy coordinator and all that stuff. But like, I was trained like you go and talk to the actor, your co-part. That's your like they're in it with you. Like you're skin on skin with these people, even if you're not having an intimate scene. Like it's an
Yeah.
intimate moment all the time. So
Yeah.
you have to build that relationship regardless, you know? Like it's important to have any conversation about any of the stuff that you're going to be doing because you want to understand where you're coming from.
Mm.
So it's to me, it's like really regardless of what the director decides to do. Sometimes the director will initiate it, sometimes they don't. You know, sometimes like I was hearing an interview where the very first scene that the director decided to shoot between Jennifer Aniston and oh God, what's his face? The guy from the Twilight movies. I don't know why I'm
Robert
forgetting
Pattinson.
that one. They're doing a movie, Die My Love, or something like that, that's coming out. It's winning a bunch of ovations in the film festivals. The interview, they're explaining that the very first scene that they shot, they're both butt naked in the middle of a field. I'm like, talk about a
Yeah.
director like I'm like,
Right.
I really hope Jen and Pat got a chance to like hang out prior to all of this so that they weren't like so insanely awkward. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Can you imagine?
Yeah. I find it so fascinating because what you're describing sounds, I mean, we didn't actually like say what a lot of your background is in, but as far as like your acting, like has it been more on stage versus more in front of the camera? Um but I find it so fascinating because like I've heard people like Denzel Washington, for example, saying like one of the reasons why he likes the stage so much better is because that's an actor's medium, that if you want to actually act, go to stage because that is where you're going to be able to have much more of a say. But you're having that say because after you've done all of your rehearsing prior, right? And you've like gotten the whole like here's where you're supposed to go, this is what you're supposed to do, whatever. Like here's the understanding of the story that you're telling start to finish. Once that production starts, once the curtain comes up, it's you. It's you doing it. So any changes that get made, it's not like somebody's gonna call cut. That wasn't right. Like you just have to know the story that you're telling, and then you're all that you're. And obviously, this is coming from somebody who has never acted in her life. Just my understanding of like being such like showophile. I don't even know the right word for that. Cinema lover. Um, that you're it's you, like you are in control of it, so there's that. But then you know movies, as Mr. Washington said, is a director's medium. I find that so fascinating of what you're talking about of like you guys in this moment though are saying like this is how we're interpreting the scene. And I guess after we've had that conversation, we're going to go in front of the camera and we're going to do it. And we're just going to see if the director likes it or not.
100%. Yeah. And if the director
Interesting.
decides to change it in that moment, then you're changing it. Yeah. 100. Yeah. 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 Yeah.
Well,
The stage is similar because you're doing that in all the bajillion rehearsals that you do. I have way more experience in stage. That's my medium. The stage is smaller, right? Like what
yeah.
I'm learning is bigger. Sorry, the film is smaller,
Yeah.
so that's what I'm learning. Like for the stage, you've got to hit all the seats, right? So your gestures, everything is much bigger. The expressions on your face, the your pronunciation has to be so much more on point. Where the camera gets every tiny little detail you do. Like too much eye movement and you've lost the audience. Like you have to be so much more condensed. It's for me it's hard because my background is in you're trying to hit the back everyone, and it's like no, everyone's front row.
Right. Yeah. It makes sense. It also then isn't surprising really that a lot of actors like it when movie actors like it when directors want to shoot large. Like where they're like, we're gonna have the camera like way back here, and like you're gonna be able to like do it, and we're just gonna like full body see you because it then could feel more like you're on stage, and so you can be as, expressive, gesturing or whatever as you
Yeah.
want. I think that's one of the really interesting things. Like I feel like Cynthia Erivo said something to that effect too about like what you just said about how the camera is the your space is so much smaller on camera. So like when she was talking about doing Wicked, and that like on the stage, you're having to always like sing out. You're always having to project out. Whereas now doing the movie version of Wicked, she's like, we I could sit and just be like, I'm not a singer. So like that whole hands touch moment, right? In the forest. Like she didn't have to sing that out because the camera was right here. So it was about the emotion of it instead of trying to get the audience to hear what it was she was saying, which I
100%.
find just fascinating. Yeah, like, and anyway, another question that I had about like kind of the mentality of actors. Do you think that because, or no, I'm not going to prime you. I want to just know like what it is. Why do you think that there are actors and actresses that kind of lose their shit? So actors that I'm thinking about are things like Heath Ledger, for example, or
Oh,
Robin Williams.
I think there's more to that because you can't talk about just them portraying characters and not being able to release the energy without also talking about their life change. Because when you become famous, like a Heath Ledger and a Robin Williams, your life changes. And actors have to deal with that. Like the public eye now knows you, so you
Or thinks
can't,
they know you.
right, or thinks they know you, and you can't just go to the grocery store sometimes, right? Like you can't just go out to dinner with your friends sometimes. Like it's a much like and people don't realize that. And I was listening to an interview the other day about like someone trying to figure out how they were going to go to a festival, and they're like really famous, and like it's very difficult for really famous people to go to a music festival. Like you can't, you unless are one of the performers or you're with one of the performers and you're backstage. You can't just
Walk
show
in through
up,
the front door.
yeah,
Yeah.
to a festival. It's and that really affects some people because our medium is to observe interaction. Like we have to be out there looking at other people because we borrow from the world.
Yeah.
So it's
Yeah.
yeah, it's
You have to
really
experience life in order to be able to portray an experience. If you've never had the experience, then like, sure, you might be able to find some level of truth, but it's a lot easier if you've actually had the experience.
yeah, or some semblance of it, or been around people that have so that you can feel that energy. But if you're like closed off because you're famous and no one's going to let you out of your little, hacienda. I mean, I understand why actors have these huge places because you can't go anywhere
Yeah. Yeah.
without an entourage and security and like all this craziness. And they have to pay
Yeah.
for all that, like,
It's also like, how do you feel about the whole fandom? Not a specific fandom, right? Like I'm not specifically talking about like the Harry Potter fandom or the Twilight fandom or the Star Wars fandom or the Star Trek fandom. Like I'm not talking about a specific one. I'm just asking you like how do you feel about fandom? Like is it weird to you? Is
it's,
it like
first of all, it's contrived, right? It's on purpose. Like, you know, these people making these films, and it's on purpose and it's so wrong. And because the more and more you watch any interview with an actor, sorry, going back to that because it's just the truth, right?
Yeah.
You realize that there's a common denominator in pretty much everyone, with very few exceptions, very few, in my opinion. Um, these are all the people that had a hard time in relationships in high school, didn't feel like they fit in anywhere, always felt like the oddball trying to fit into the square peg, trying to fit into the round hole. Like, I can't, how many books have we read about actors or anyone in the entertainment industry that isn't telling you that similar story? Like, it's a very common thread amongst people in that industry that they felt that they were the odd one. I am not the exception. And so there are these people now that go into this medium because they have this ability to feel the array of emotions, but also feel very odd around other people because they've never felt like they have their quote unquote tribe or whatnot. They always felt like the odd person in the room. And now everybody wants to talk to them and don't want to leave you alone.
It's so it's I find fandom weird personally.
Yes.
I I want to say like I've actually met a not a fair amount. I don't know what's the thing between like zero and a fair amount. Like I feel like I fall somewhere in there of like who of the number of celebrities that I've met. I was really lucky to go to a college that had a lot of rich people going there. And because of that, rich people tend to have access or tend to know and meet other rich people. And,
Yeah.
actors and actors who do well for themselves tend to fall into that category. Uh,
Yes.
so and then of course, because of that, those actors or actresses would get invited to come to different events and whatever. And so I have met like a decent amount of individuals from directors and actors and things like that. Um and I can honestly say that I never walked up to an individual and was like, "Oh, cling to you. Oh God." I'm like, I'm not like that. I very much see the individual. I see that, they're performing their job. They're doing a job. They're not just there just because they want to be. Somebody asked them to come. Somebody is paying them to be there. Um, but I have been in line watching other people, or I've been in a group, right, watching other people interacting, and I see the fandom, and I'm like, you guys are the problem. Like, you're the problem. You're the reason why these people who already have anxiety or, other, forms of things that make them feel different, make them feel other, the things that basically drew them to the medium of acting, you're the reason why it's worse for them. And so I think fandom is weird. I do. I don't actually really like it. And like if we could
No.
all just be like, "Oh, you're just a person," and we'd allow for them to, whatever. And I'm not saying that like nobody should be interacting with actors. Um, but just don't make it weird. Like you can easily say like, "Hey, I liked your movies," or "Hey, I liked that show that you did," and move on.
They're just people. They're just
Yeah.
people. And this whole reality TV didn't make it any better,
No.
right? Because now we have all of those people that are, like, and here's the thing, like, what ends up happening, and it's not talked about enough, and nobody even the real actors don't tell this story, is they become a brand. Every actor is marketed a certain way, represented a certain way, makeup, haired, fashioned. It is 100% a marketing brand, a very, very expensive, high end marketing brand.
The person who comes to mind when you say this, Helena Bonham Carter. All right, everyone. So we are going to take a break. This is the end of part A. Okay. This conversation is so interesting to me and has so many different elements to it that I really I don't want to break this up. What we are going to do is we are going to just take a little bit of a break here. You are going to be able to listen to part B here shortly. And I hope that you enjoy it. I hope that you enjoy the rest of this conversation. So come on back and listen to part B. And we will see you next time on the next Breath of Life conversation. Bye, y'all.